Peace. Welcome to Holistic Intuition, where we collectively explore health, raised consciousness, and overall holistic experiences such as self-love, cultural privilege, confidence, sex, friendships, oppressive systems, and much, much more, while encouraging you to be your best guide in this human experience through helping each other connect more deeply with ourselves.
Peace. Welcome to episode 12, I believe. If you have been joining us, thank you for joining us again. If you're new, welcome to Holistic Intuition. We talk about anything that has to do with the human experience, really, on this podcast. I don't really put myself in a box, so I don't just talk about one thing. We talk about holistic health, how the foods affect every part of our body. We talk about the matrix and how society has purposely set things up for their own capital gain and not for our wellness. We talk about different systems, relationships, friendships, honesty, sex, everything. So thank you for joining us. Today, this episode is something that definitely resonates very deeply with me. So before we begin, like always, when I don't forget, we always set an intention, because when we set an intention, we are later able to more accurately examine if that experience or person or whatever it was actually fulfilling. So it's really just holding ourselves accountable more. Today I have this beautiful candle from my grandma, and I also made a delicious latte. My lattes always consist of herbal loose leaf teas, and then usually with some homemade hemp milk and some agave and some spices like some Ceylon cinnamon or some allspice. Today I have burdock and vanilla rooibos. Beautiful combination if you need a little latte in your life that doesn't have a bunch of processed artificial sugar or even microplastics. That's something too to think about, is if you're making tea and you're making it with tea bags like the ones from the store, those have billions of microplastics in them, which is obviously not something we want. So I lit the candle. Let's just take a moment and set our intention. I wonder if you'll be able to hear peace in her litter while you're trying to set your intention. So let's start with what is healing, because a lot of times the way healing is talked about does not resonate with me. It's almost like it's this final destination. It's like, I am healed. I did XYZ and I went on my healing journey and now I'm here. It's never a destination that you arrive at. We're never done healing. Healing is this never-ending journey. And to me, it's like this never-ending journey of realizations, awakenings, and deep self-discovery within. That's how I would describe my healing journey so far. But life is going to constantly bring us different people, experiences, places. So to think that we can just fix a part of ourselves and now we're just cool is not realistic. It's not realistic. And also, healing looks and feels differently for everybody. So this is not a one-size-fits-all of like, okay, well, if you just do XYZ, you'll be good. No, we all have different traumas. We all have different parts of ourselves that may be tapped into more or less, or we're still in an environment that is inducing some experiences in our internal body. Everything is there's so much variability. So when you just hear these like spiritual type people being like, well, you just need to do this, to me, that's them speaking from ego. and saying, well, this is what works for me, so it's going to work for you. Maybe, but maybe not. So when we desire more or different and practice self-acceptance, that's really when our healing journey begins. So for me, because I can really only speak on my own path, I feel like I really started for real, my healing journey, which is really just in, higher awareness to what has been going on, probably when COVID happened, in 2020. That was like my first major awakening. Maybe I had mini awakenings, I would say, because at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. So I had mini awakenings, but I had like my first main awakening to the ways of the world, to myself, in 2020. And that really just changed the trajectory of my whole path. And what I mean by awakening, let me go like a little bit deeper, is I finally saw the ways of the world for what they were and not how they were being fed to us. So if you watch the news, who is the news owned by? The same few companies. All the companies in damn near the whole world are owned by the same two companies, Vanguard and BlackRock. So who's behind these companies? Who's behind these ideologies that they want us to be ingrained with? Once you start asking yourself those questions, it's like, whoa, this was, and especially as someone that is raised white, we are like completely detached from reality, like we don't see at all what's really going on. We see like these fake stories, really. It's just like, honestly, I can only speak for myself, but awakening as someone that was raised white was like a mind-boggling experience. I don't know what other word I can even say. It was like, and then to learn these things and then try to connect with family or friends that are still indoctrinated into those beliefs is even more of a mind-boggling experience. Because a lot of white people are extremely stuck in the ego, and they really don't want to hear this shit. They don't want to examine the ways that they played a part in white supremacy. Because we like to think of white supremacy as KKK and these extreme examples. White supremacy is all around us. So awakening to the ways of the world and how different people experience life in this country and in the whole world. Just the matrix, the illusion of time, careers, like these very weird ideologies. A career? What? I need to pick one thing in life to focus on? What? I am an all-encompassing being. All of these things that I was now really attuned to. And then let me go to my notes because there's so many things I'm thinking about. So yeah, the ways of the world, what's being fed to us, toxic complacency, and these practices, these thought patterns that are recycled in our families. A lot of us experience that, where it's like these behaviors of certain family members are excused because, like, well, that's just how they are. Huh? It's just how they are. That behavior is detrimental to the family unit. So if we fix that behavior, if we were honest and that person was accountable, it would heal the family dynamic. And a lot of times families practice toxic complacency. And it's just, well, we should just put up with it because that's just how they are, and that's not okay. Okay? It's not okay. If no one has told you that in your family, that your emotions, your thought patterns about certain people and certain experiences in your family unit are not acceptable because they might hurt you, they might bother you, they might make you feel uncomfortable, please know that your feelings are valid. And then really my own blockages. because our emotions and our physical body are so interconnected, and learning these different things of like, okay, wow, so that happened from childhood, and then this is how it carried into my adulthood, and this is where in my body that's being stored. So for example, we tend to hold a lot of trauma in our hips. And my whole life, I'm trying to think of how I can strengthen my IT band, how I can strengthen my hip. And no one ever taught me, that was neglected, that, you know what, this might not be a physical ailment. This might be the result of emotional dis-ease. And lastly, just really examining fulfillment. Like, where am I not being fulfilled in my own self and in external environments? Where am I going and hanging out with people in these places with whoever, and I'm not really feeling how I know I should be feeling? And that's, like I said, for external and for my own internal environment. And in various parts of life, it can be with people, it could be with places. So now, when I say now, let's go back to 2020. Now that I was aware and I really saw and felt how these things were affecting my life so much, I had to take action, because just knowing better doesn't mean that you do better. You really have to put that intentionality behind whatever you want to heal. And I had to realign my thought pattern and create new neural pathways. I had to unlearn. A lot of times we think on this journey that I need to learn. Half the time we need to unlearn. That's what we need to do. We need to unlearn all the bullshit so that we can really take in the new and not just be stuffed with more information. I had to release. That is a huge part of the healing journey, is releasing. And I really feel like you're a baby again. You're starting as a baby. You're starting from a clean slate of, what do I actually like? What actually makes me feel good? What kind of people really allow me to feel the most like myself? How do I actually want to live my life? These are things that we're not really thinking about because it has already been predetermined for us. So all of this has to do with spirituality. This is all you connecting deeper to your spirit and to the collective, because everything is living, So it's like, once your thoughts change, those neural pathways change, your electromagnetic field, your energy has literally changed. Your vibration has literally shifted. So once that happens, your emotions change. Okay, my emotions have changed. Now my words have changed. Okay, now my lexicon has changed. Now my conversations have changed. Now that my conversations have changed, now my actions have changed. This is not just like a boom, something just happened overnight. No, all these little steps had to take place. And now my consciousness is in a new place. It's shifted. The thing is, though, just because you have changed doesn't mean that the people around you have changed. And sometimes that can be a hard pill to swallow. And let's get into let's get into the meat now. Now I feel like we're at the meat. Okay, we talked about healing. What does that mean? I explained a little bit about my own journey. But what happens? What are the things that no one talks about when we're healing? And I'm not talking about the thing, all of this is really positive, but I'm not talking about the things that are perceived as positive, like, oh, you feel lighter, you feel like this, you feel like that, you know what I'm saying? Those are great, and we all know it's great. But what are the things that are maybe uncomfortable, that might be difficult to deal with at first? The first thing is isolation. You know, we might not always want to isolate, but it kind of feels like we're being pushed into a corner sometimes of, you know what, the people that I was talking to aren't really fulfilling me, and the places I go to don't feel the same, and maybe even the food I'm eating doesn't really feed me what I'm desiring. And so you kind of naturally start to insulate. That's the word I like to use more, because it doesn't make me feel isolated. I'm more insulating. I'm protecting my energy more now. And at times that can be lonely. You know, maybe you really do want to connect with people, but you're not finding those people that really do it for you. So being insulated is really just going inward. We might experience moments of sadness because, like I said, everything is changing, and sometimes it feels like that change is happening so rapidly, and you're like, damn. You might miss people without wanting to be with them. You might miss those interactions. You might miss a specific person. You might miss places. But you know that it doesn't give you what you need. So it's not that you go back to those things. We never go back. But we can still acknowledge that it is sad. It is sad to release people. But it is needed. It is needed. In every part of life, in nature, things are constantly being released. The death to bring a rebirth, you know? So it can be sad, and that's okay. Feel your sadness, allow it to, feel it, and then release it. And for me, this one is something that I feel all the time, honestly. This one I feel all the freaking time. There's this internal struggle where it's like, okay, let's say I'm talking to someone and they say something that doesn't resonate with me, and do I speak my truth and say what I'm really thinking and feeling? And they most likely, because most people are living in their ego, most likely they'll get reactive, they might get defensive, they might get upset, they might think I'm being nitpicky, and then I have to deal with that energy. Or do I suppress myself and not speak my truth, not be really fully honest, which leads to this stagnation of energy in my own body? And it could lead to possible resentment of that person over time, because we can't truly be honest with each other. We can't truly be vulnerable because you're taking it as I'm trying to fight against you, or I'm trying to be nitpicky, when in reality I'm just trying to have a regular conversation. Me and my partner have conversations all the time, and we might not agree with each other, but it doesn't lead to an argument. It just leads to more conversation, because that's how you learn someone. But most people don't think like that. So that's something that I definitely feel a lot, especially with family. Just because I've changed things doesn't mean my family wants to change things. And when you're trying to maintain some sort of level of connection, but they want to stay where they're at, it's like, okay, well, you're staying here, but I keep changing. I keep shifting all these things. So that gap feels bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm not going to shrink myself to come down to those levels. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is you might just feel overall drained. When you heal, you get more sensitive. And sensitivity is a very powerful, positive trait. Sensitivity means that you are more attuned to life. You feel what we're actually supposed to feel. But when you eat like shit, you're dumbed down a little bit. You got brain fog now. When you surround yourself with people that are low vibrational, you can't even feel the full capacity of those high vibrational emotions because your body is literally still vibrating in these lower frequencies. So yeah, you can still feel love, you can still feel these things, but your body isn't naturally residing here. So your spirit just may feel drained, you know, and it may be requiring more quiet internal time. You know, maybe that's through meditation, whatever it may be. And everything, like for me, it's just everything. It's like artificial light. I don't want to be around artificial light. I want to be in sunlight. I don't want to be around artificial buildings and cars and pollution and plastic and, you know, like all of those things will affect you. 5G, that's a huge affector of your energy and of your literal physical body and your energetic body. All of those things, you start to feel drained from it, like, oh, I just need to be in nature. I just need to go to the park. So all of those things. Now, what can we do? What now that we have talked about some of those things of the parts of healing that a lot of people tend to dismiss and display this toxic positivity, like everything is love and light, and when you're spiritual and this, everything is just moving copaesthetically, and no, that's not the case. We touched on, you know, some of those uncomfortable things, but they're needed. They're uncomfortable, but they're needed. But now, what do we do with it? How do we sit with these emotions? Number one, just feel that shit. Just allow whatever you're going through to flow with ease. Be like water. And allow those lessons to act as guides, because that's exactly what they are. That isolation feeling, that more internal time feeling, that sadness feeling, those are all guides to you of where you need to be, and that what is happening right now is trying to catapult you to something new, to something more aligned, to something more purposeful and fulfilling. And when you get to those places, you'll have more reciprocation. And that's obviously fulfilling. I keep using the word flow because it's just so representative of... Okay, I thought the cat was eating something. Is so representative of what we need to do all the time, is we just need to flow. And flowing with life means releasing. We cannot hold on to things because of comfortability or familiarity. What is that giving you? It's keeping you stagnant. If that's the main reason, is it's just familiar, it's just comfortable, I just haven't done that yet, so I don't want to do it, you're staying stagnant. You're keeping your bloodline stagnant. You're keeping the family dynamic stagnant. Everything. Growth requires releasing in order for expansion to take place. So what I like to do, these are some things that have helped me through my journey and today still, is number one is to practice honesty. I don't suppress myself. And if I feel like I need to suppress myself, I'm going to remove myself from that experience. Because a lot of times we're not honest because we're afraid or we don't want to deal with that other person's reaction. But the thing is, their reaction is merely a projection, and that projection has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with them and where they are at energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally in their life. And it's really up to you to decide, is this person, place, experience, whatever, conducive to the life that I desire, that I dream of? When you dream of this dream life, what does it look like? Visualize everything so detailed. Visualize what it's looking like. Visualize and feel it. How do I feel when I rise? How do I feel when I'm around these future people that I'm going to meet that are going to make me feel a certain way? Really get super nitty gritty in there. Do some visualization meditations and really feel it. Really see that shit. When I envision where I want to live, I literally envision it down to the type of trees that I want in my garden. Because I want everything to feel so real that my non-physical body doesn't know the difference. And so that starts happening, and that's how you start manifesting. Another thing that has helped me tremendously, and something that honestly we all need, is time in nature. Ground. Get your feet in the dirt, in the grass. Get those electrons moving through you. Get light codes from the sun. Spend time with nature. Listen to nature. She's constantly communicating with us. Give gratitude for all of this life that you are surrounded with. From the trees, to the flowers, to the mycelium networks. Everything is abundant in this life. Everything is just here with us. But we're so consumed with fake shit all day that takes us away from being present, because it's easy to scroll on your phone and then it ends up being 2 hours, but you can't even spend 30 minutes in nature without looking at your fucking phone. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? But if you feel like you're healing and things are becoming overstimulated and it's hard to ground, nature will always be there. She's like, literally, think of the feminine. The feminine is very nurturing. Mother Nature, Mother Earth is very nurturing. She grounds us. She feeds us literally through those electrons, through grounding. Grounding, if you aren't familiar with that, is the practice of putting your feet in nature. It could be grass, dirt, whatever. Just planting your feet is extremely beneficial. Your body receives a lot of benefits from doing that. So I was talking about grounding in that sense, but also grounding in like the emotional, spiritual sense. Also, take risks. Listen to your passions and follow them. Because I've said this before, passion drives purpose. And when you're walking in your purpose, you are more likely to find your soul family. Not people that are just living in their trauma and just getting by day to day. It's important to find our soul family, because those are people, those are spirits that are really feeding us. And many people, what they end up doing is they don't want to heal themselves because it's too painful to open up those wounds that they have shut so tight, that they end up finding people that just complement their trauma. They're not complimenting you. They're not complimenting that magical essence of all the uniqueness that makes up you. They're complimenting the trauma. Know the difference. So for example, if one person went through a lot of trauma at an early age, and now they have a lack of trust in their body, and they feel like they need external validation with people, with looking a certain way, with, I need to have my nails done all the time, and I need to have this type of clothes, and I need to have this and this and that. and they find someone who's living in their ego that thinks that the basis of what makes them up, what makes them good, what makes them valuable is what they do for other people. Does that make sense? Like some people, it's always great to help people, but some people that are in their ego that need to feel externally validated will choose someone that doesn't know how to do anything for themselves. So they're both being complemented with their trauma. I hope that makes sense. The first person is like, I don't know how to do anything by myself. I always need help. I can't figure out anything by myself. I need external validation. The other person is like, well, I'm valuable because I know how to take care of people, because I know how to do this, because I can, you know what I'm saying? They put all their value in external things. So they feel valuable because they can help this other person, and this person feels good because now someone takes care of them. It's this toxic codependency. They're not really complementing each other, but their trauma is complementing each other. You know what I'm saying? There's a major difference right there. And really just practice acceptance, practice grace, practice love. Because these emotions, these different things that come up when we're healing are complex. There's not just one way, there's not one answer, never. So allow yourself just that love. Allow yourself forgiveness for the things that you might have done in the past that you didn't know any better. Especially things with childhood. When you're a child, none of it was your fault. None of it was your fault when you were a child. That's something a lot of us need to hear. So practice forgiveness. Give yourself that love, even if you feel like no one else is. Because once you feed yourself that love, you will notice it. You might not have noticed it before, and it might come from unexpected places, but love is all around us and within us. Remember that everything is temporary. Every single thing is temporary, okay? These emotions, these lessons, these people, every single thing is here to guide us and teach us, to catapult us into being our highest self. So whatever needs to come, it had a divine purpose. And if it needs to go, then let it go. And lastly, be fucking proud of yourself. If you are putting consistent, intentional love into the betterment of yourself, into healing your physical, emotional, spiritual, mental body, know that you are doing something that majority of society is not. That you are a powerful, unique being for taking this journey. And that this is not just about you. When you heal yourself, you heal the collective. Because we're always projecting. So when I heal myself, I'm healing because as women, all of our eggs we are born with. So all of my future kids are inside of me right now. And that's what I think about. I'm healing myself for them. I'm healing myself for the family unit. I'm healing myself for my partner. I'm healing myself for any fucking stranger that I come across. Because my energy is elevated now. My sensitivity is more attuned now. My love is abundant now. These are not just for us. These lessons are never just for us. They might come in a certain path, they might come in a certain way for us to learn it, but it's not just like, oh, okay, well, Jessie learned that, so now we're good. No, Jessie learned this shit so I can take it to everyone. So that concludes basically what I want to say. I feel like I could go on for days about this, you know what I'm saying? Because there's so many different aspects of healing. But I really just wanted to touch on some things that people don't talk about. And so that we don't feel overly isolated. So that we don't feel overly alone. That these are normal, they're to be expected, and you're doing a great fucking job. And that's all. So have a lovely Sunday. Get some time in nature if you can. Have some introspective time. And I will see you all next week. Peace.